If you are trying to figure out first grade homeschool curriculum, especially if your child is academically ahead, but you still want a gentle year, I'll show you exactly what we are using. So one thing that made planning this year a little bit tricky is that my daughter has been in a Montessori school. So she's already reading chapter books, writing in cursive, and doing multi-digit math. But I still wanted our homeschool to have a slow, gentle Waldorf rhythm to it. So the way that we're approaching this is using the Waldorf stories and art blocks as enrichment while bringing in a few other resources for skill building. So today I'll walk you through our core Waldorf rhythm curriculum, then language arts, math, art, music, and a few extras that we'll be adding in. So first off, I will just be showing these very briefly, but if you would like to see more flip-throughs of any of these curricula, or if you would like me to review anything that we've used in the past, let me know in the comments down below and I'll make those videos next. All right, so first for our overall curriculum rhythm and flow to the year, we'll be using Earthschooling First Grade, which is a Waldorf-inspired curriculum. This is just one of the books that comes with it. It actually comes with 10 of these of varying sizes, plus a lot of extras. It's a pretty hefty curriculum that covers a lot of the important first grade blocks like math, language arts, music, handwork, science. And we have used a fair portion of their kindergarten curriculum, but I'm really excited to fully immerse ourselves in their ecosystem this fall. If you're familiar with the Waldorf pedagogy, you'll know that subjects are taught in blocks of several weeks. So you'll focus on vowel stories for several weeks, then math, then some science stories, and it rotates throughout the year. So this is Planner 7, and the main focus for this block for these 4 weeks is the 4 processes, which I have my little math gnomes all ready to go. And there's also a complementary main lesson of handwork. So pretty much throughout the year, you're going to be doing handwork to complement the lessons, but the main blocks will rotate. So one of the issues, if you want to call it that I was having with this curriculum is that it does start out very gentle, which follows the traditional Waldorf timing for introducing academics, which is absolutely what I want. I do want to have a slow, peaceful introduction to our year with my daughter. But my daughter has been in a Montessori school up until now, and so she is way beyond learning her letters and her numbers. She is already reading chapter books independently. She is writing sentences and paragraphs in cursive. She's doing math problems with all 4 operations in multi-digits, and lots of other pretty impressive stuff. So definitely they don't hold back on academics, but for homeschool, I'm wanting to switch to the Waldorf style. So I'm really looking to use the letter and number and math stories as enrichment and sort of a bridge for her, because she really does love a good fairy tale. She loves drawing and art. So the lessons, even though they will be things that she already knows, I still think she's going to have a lot of fun with them and find them interesting. She's going to be looking at things from a different angle than she would have. It's not going to be quite as analytical as what she was learning with the Montessori algorithms. It just won't be her main source of new learning, but I do think she's really going to enjoy these stories in here. All right, language arts. We decided to go with Logic of English Foundations B. We completed level A of this program, and my daughter did enjoy it. Much of it was review for her. However, I did find that a lot of the phonograms had additional sounds that she wasn't getting familiar with through her Montessori school. They were kind of focusing on just the main sounds, and this really goes into depth with a lot of the phonic sounds. And I think that'll help her become better at spelling, because that is one thing we're working on right now. So she can write nice cursive, so we don't really need the cursive practice pages that are in here. And a lot of this stuff is very... She will not have any problem doing any of these. But mainly what I'm focusing on is the phonic sounds and getting her really, really immersed in it and in depth with it. So I think we're going to be playing the games a lot. And I did actually pick up the Logic of English game book as well. And you can buy game boards that kind of make your games a little prettier. You don't have to have them, but they're nice. And this is like a crazy amount of games. Like every page in here is a game. So there's, somewhere around 200 and something games that we can play to practice all of the skills from Logic of English. So if we do move through this quickly, which I kind of am anticipating, then we'll just move on through the levels up through C and D when the spelling gets a little bit trickier. And hopefully she'll move into essentials if she enjoys. Then at a slower pace, kind of just when we feel like it, I do have Blossom and Roots level 1, the stories we tell. We use level 0 of Blossom and Root. We did pretty much everything in it, and my daughter really, really enjoyed it and all aspects of it. So I really wanted to continue using some Blossom and Root materials. Again, we will not need everything in here. We won't be doing the narration because that is covered by our Waldorf curriculum. But these mini poems do look fun, and there is some copy work in cursive that would help her work on her handwriting to get it a little neater. So we'll kind of go through this, read the books. Maybe she can use them as a read aloud, like her reading aloud to me, or independent reading. So yeah, that's it for our language arts. Now let's move on to math. We decided to go with Math with Confidence. We did the kindergarten level of Math with Confidence, and my daughter enjoyed it a lot. So we're just going to continue on with this. I anticipate we'll move through it at a pretty good pace. She knows most of it, but I still want to make sure that she has the foundation. So I didn't just want to skip to the second grade, even though I honestly think she could do the second grade stuff at this point. But we'll just go through this, make sure she really has the number sense down and is comfortable with all of the concepts in the book before we move on. And of course, we have the Earthschooling main lesson blocks for math, which introduce the 4 processes at the same time in sort of a story format, which I think she will definitely enjoy. Math with Confidence doesn't introduce multiplication and division at this point, but she's already been doing that at school. So I do want to keep it kind of like fresh in her head and not just completely let division and multiplication drop out as concepts. But I do also want to follow the scope and sequence of Math with Confidence, because I do feel like this is such a solid program and a solid math foundation that I trust it. So I do have a lot of other Waldorf math resources, and if you're interested in seeing any of those, let me know and I can do some flip throughs of them. I plan to kind of smatter those in as enrichment also, because she really, really loves math. For music, we are doing Recorder through Earthschooling. They introduce pentatonic recorder, and they do it mostly with, you don't read the music, the teacher models the song first, and then the student copies. And that's cool. That's one way to learn. But after talking to my aunt, who is a university music professor, I decided that we're probably going to switch over to Meadow's beginning recorder. The reason being is that they start right off the bat with reading music. Per my aunt, it can be tough to learn to read music after you've already learned to play an instrument through rote memorization. So her recommendation was to do a program with us. So that's what we're going to do. One thing to note is Earthschooling uses the pentatonic flute, and Meadow uses the soprano recorder. So it's two different instruments. We have both, but I think what we're probably going to end up doing is focusing mostly on this one, and the pentatonic will be sort of our like play around flute, where we aren't really doing serious musical study with it. So next is art. And here's where I kind of nerd out a little bit, because I was a fine art major and my daughter loves art too. But I didn't want to get a curriculum that has a bunch of overly structured, crafty, instructional things. For example, she was enrolled in an art class through her school, and the stuff they brought home was cool, but it also very much was not like developmentally correct. It was highly guided, tutorialized type of learning. And the part that I did like was that they paired it with learning about an actual artist. So that part was cool. But anyway, so I very much want to honor where she's at and allow her to actually explore things in her own way. But I do also want to introduce a little bit of structure and have an understanding about color theory, properties of color, and things like that. So we're going to be working through Painting and Drawing in Waldorf Schools, classes 1 through 8 by Thomas Wilgruber. And this book is just absolutely beautiful, and there's even exercises for you to complete as sort of personal experiments. And so then it goes into the curriculum, and it gives you basically an entire year's worth of lessons and wet-on-wet watercolor experiments. So it starts off with minimal colors. You would have stories to go along with these that you come up with. And yeah, and it goes all the way through the grades. And I think it's such an interesting book. But then, in addition to that, and I mean, a Waldorf curriculum innately comes with lots of drawing and painting in it. So this is sort of like our dedicated painting exploration, aside from all of the other fun things we're going to be drawing and painting this year. And so, but on top of that, I do have the Blossom and Roots level 1 Exploring Math in Art, which I also think is a pretty neat curriculum. It's one of the kind that where you get an artist, you look at their work, you study it, and then you make some works inspired by their art. And so my hope is that I can let her be a bit more free with her interpretation of inspired by, and sort of be a gentle guide with it instead of a full-on like craft tutorial, because we do have handwork as well, which is more of the tutorial follow-up steps. But for art, I really want her to just experiment for herself. It's been so fascinating watching her drawing and her paintings develop over the years, to see where they've come from and where they're going. I just absolutely love watching this progression happen naturally. And so yeah, I'm really looking forward to both of these. Okay, and then on to our extra subjects. So for typing, we're just going to continue on with the good and the beautiful typing. The book 1 is in her room right now, but so we will be continuing on with book 1. She has done about a dozen lessons, and she's enjoying it so far, and she seems to be picking it up. So we're just going to continue on with that. Another component of the Blossom and Root, the Stories We Tell curriculum, has an entire map sort of unit in it, as well as some country studies. So we will probably go through these at kind of a leisurely pace and just sort of as we feel like it. But I thought that would be a fun thing to do. So sort of left over from our level 0 is the Art and the History of Me. They had composer studies, which we did not get to all of them. And I'll basically treat it pretty lightly. Just put their music on while we're working sometimes and maybe learn a bit about the composer and paste their picture into the workbook that they included just so that she can have a record of who she learned about. For health, we are doing Oak Meadow's Healthy Living from the Start, which is a really neat curriculum. It's designed for grades K to 3, so you actually go through the entire book 4 times. So you go through and you do, so we've done the kindergarten stuff, and then you go all the way back to the start and learn a little bit deeper for grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, but it goes through the same units. So, and I think a lot of it is stuff that we talk about naturally, but I'm kind of just like making sure I hit all my bases. So I don't follow it to a T. I just kind of like use it as a guide to remind myself that, oh yeah, we need to maybe talk about first aid, things like that. The lessons in this are super quick. Some of them are just discussions, but sometimes you have a little activity to do, but it's not usually very time intensive or anything like that. So for form drawing, we've already been working through creative form drawing with children aged 6 to 10, and we are just going to continue working through this book pretty much through the grades, through the younger grades. So Earthschooling does have a form drawing block included in their curriculum, and there's nothing wrong with it. I just already had this book, and since we're going through it anyways, we're just going to continue. Okay, so for logic, and I know this is kind of a weird one, but my daughter loves puzzles, so I don't really consider this curriculum because she asks to do them just for fun. But the Critical Thinking Company has so many wonderful books for logic and critical thinking that we just picked up a few, and she loves going through them. So this one is really neat. It comes up with problems, and it asks you to draw a solution to it. Mind benders, it's kind of like a Sudoku type thing where you have to deduce, say somebody's age or which candy they liked or whatever. This one is meant to be read aloud to the student. And then this one is little riddles. But yeah, she loves those. She does them for fun. I don't really consider it school per se, but I thought I would include it anyways. And then finally, we have Spanish. We've been using Song School Spanish, so we're just going to continue along with that. I was raised in Canada, so my second language is French. So I'm just over here basically learning Spanish with her. But it's a really fun program. It has some videos that you watch at the start of a lesson, which the lesson is like a week long sort of thing. So you watch one video a week, and it has a teacher who pronounces everything correctly for you, which is helpful for me because I've never taken Spanish. I've only taken French. And then there's some songs to learn, which help you with the vocabulary. And there's a few workbook activities you can do. And each video also has this little girl that you follow around through her house, and she shows you things and talks about things in Spanish that have to do with the vocabulary that you're learning that week. So anyways, this has been an enjoyable curriculum that we've been doing together. And who knows what we'll do after this, if we'll continue on to book 2 or if we'll look at some other Spanish curricula. Not entirely sure, but she is enjoying Spanish. She's picking it up quickly, so we'll probably continue on with that. Okay, so thank you so much for watching my video about our first grade curriculum picks. I can't wait to see what some of you have chosen. If you want to see more detailed flip-throughs of any of these books, please let me know in the comments down below and I will make that video next. Have a wonderful week.